world that nature has to offer in one lifetime. What a dream! To travel freely into the home of the wild ones, to live with them, to become so accepted by them that they hardly notice that you're there. That is not only my dream, that's my goal. I'm wildlife photographer Bill Porter, and I'll take you there.
I walked on the mountain down by the sea. There I saw men, there this world with me. We shared the world with wild ones, that's the way it's meant to be. We're also meant to save them, that's the power in you and me. I wandered down the valley, crossed to the other shore. There's wildlife all around us, birds and bees and so much more. We're always going to take some, that's the way it's meant to be. We're also meant to save them, that's the power in you and me. Well, I woke up to the sunrise, stood there at sunset too. Still I saw the wild ones, wish you had been there too. For with one touch of nature, the whole world had become kin. This message all around us, that's the way it's always been.
Wildlife Unlimited Foundation, thanking you for doing your part to keep our wildlife unlimited. I'm wildlife photographer Bill Porter, and I'll take you there. Sometimes they're cute. Sometimes they're beautiful. Other times they're simply amazing. But it's always exciting in the wonderful world of the wild ones. Prairie lands are important as agricultural lands for us, but also home for a wide variety of wildlife. Large mammals like the white-tailed deer, many species of songbirds like the bobolink, reptiles and amphibians, birds of prey, large birds, some waterfowl, upland game birds and small mammals. All benefit from the management of our grassland areas. Too often this conflict with man leads to the extinction of a wildlife species. A good example of this is the prairie chicken in Wisconsin, which was almost lost.
On land and underwater, sportsman and photographer Bill Porter with son John and family invite you all to join them at a spot in the country where we hope to see some wildlife still run free. We'll go hunting, climbing, fishing, diving, see things that help to set the spirit free. We might take some of the surplus that the good Lord has provided, always mindful of the sportsman's creed. So the wildlife we all love remains unlimited. Oh, Bill and Rose and little John, who's grown to be a man, will show you through a camera's eye wonders of the land. You might camp with them by mountain streams or run barefoot in the sand. But wherever you go, recall the creed, keep the wildlife unlimited.
The Wildlife Unlimited Foundation presents the Prairie Chicken. Join me, photographer Bill Porter, on land, underwater, and in the air, and John Porter, field assistant, with Dr. Ray Anderson, wildlife professor, University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point. The name Buena Vista stands for good view, and the prairie chicken must have this wide open areas and grasslands to survive, but came close to extinction here in the early 30s. Much of the land is very valuable, and also the natural succession, the growth of shrubs and trees, reduces the amount of permanent grasslands.
Chickens were obviously in trouble. We were losing them in Wisconsin, and they're already gone from many other states. and something needed to be done, but we had to find out first what it was.
Yes, we've always continued to work together as a team, and we're rather different in many ways. And Frederick is a greater scientist than I am.
Nonsense.
You don't say nonsense to me. And I'm better at working with individual animals and knowing how an animal thinks.
Their early studies showed that the prairie chicken had traditional booming grounds. Arriving as early as an hour before sunrise, the males, cocks as they're called, start dividing the booming grounds into territories. There is no one dominant male, but several males divide up the center areas of the booming grounds. Each morning and evening, they boom on the area. The mating area, or booming ground, gets its name from the call of the cock, a three-note booming sound that is amplified by his inflated orange air sacs. This activity starts so early in the spring that many times the snows have not gone. This goes on until late June. Many return in the late fall to the same area. Flutter jumping is done by the males when a new bird arrives on the ground. Fighting is intense early in the mating season as territory boundaries are established, but subsides later as the territories become fixed. Vigorous fighting also occurs when a cock invades another's territory to get near a hen that visits the booming grounds. The hens, as the females are called, visit the territories and appear indifferent to all this attention. She pretends to look for food, but eats little or none. Sometimes when the female nears the center area, several males will boom around her, but more often they stay in their own area. This behavior goes on for days. When she selects a male, she invites by crouching and spreading her wings. The male may then bow and copulation takes place. Sometimes interrupted by another male. If the copulation is successful, the hen will ruffle her feathers and shortly leave the booming ground. One female may be on the booming ground at one time. Boomers. That's what the people who sit out in these small blinds and watch the prairie chicken are called. John and I joined Dr. Ray Anderson of the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point and his research team working on the prairie chicken project. They wanted to radio tag some birds so they could determine nesting and brood rearing habitat. Also the productivity of the survivorship of the young. Notice the low fences on the booming grounds. Each territory is defended by the male as before. The fence does help make the female walk in a straight line, which leads to the trap. Sometimes more than one bird gets caught, but more often it's only one. Before the radio tag goes on, measurements are taken and recorded. Much can be learned from the measurements and close examination of each bird, its age, sex, and general condition at that time. Juvenile to adult ratios provide a clue to productivity. Age tells us about survivorship, while weight is related to the physical condition of the bird. A hen must be in good condition going into the nesting period.
Indicates, gives you a rough indication that it's an adult, plus it's not frayed. Diameter ratio has been done among rough grouse and sharptails, but not prairie chickens. We just want to see if there's a relationship between calamus diameter and age.
And after the weight is taken, the bird is released with no radio because of the missing foot. But it was leg tagged for future identification.
Okay. Well,
She'll probably fly back.
Kurt explained that primary feathers, numbered 9 and 10, are pointed and worn on the juveniles and smooth and round on the adults.
which includes these down here all the way up to this feather. Juveniles, the birds that are hatched that year will not molt, number 9 and 10. And so therefore, since they're not molted that first year and they retain them for a longer period, their tips are more frayed. Whereas an adult, its second summer will molt all 10 primaries. And so the uniformity in the last two will be similar to the 8th and 7th. So in this bird you can see that, it's real uniform. There's hardly any fraying. And so that indicates that these feathers were molted last summer, which in turn indicates that it's an adult.
The second bird was processed in the same manner. A radio transmitter put in place and released. The Buena Vista Marsh has had about 12,000 of its 50,000 acres bought by groups like the Society of Tempanucas Cupido-Venadas and the Prairie Chicken Foundation, the Dane County Conservation League, and some individuals, as well as others. The lands were turned over to the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources on a long-term lease to be managed for prairie chickens and other grassland wildlife. Management includes plowing and mowing to help keep back the natural succession process, and are used after August when the young birds are able to fly. Controlled burning is another management tool used in this area. Course in controlled burning is now taught at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point, and I joined them as they gathered together equipment and personnel to assist the Wisconsin DNR with a controlled burn. First, tractors plowed an area around the burn site. Then the backfires were lit. Note the fire dripping from the drip torches. This man has a portable weather station with him, where the weather plays a very important part in a controlled burn. As each line of backfire is set, it can be wider without the fear of jumping the plowed areas. Series of shows that are for the fire helps control the willows that are invading and replacing the grasslands.
like an old tire or tire.
When the back burn is wide enough, the head fire is set, and the wind pushes it across to meet the back burn. Dr. Andy Kuntz and her students helped while gaining valuable practical experience. The radio tag birds can be tracked from the road, but to find out how many young birds are in a brood, nest sites are located on foot and the eggs examined and counted. Each nest is visited. Nest sites of birds not radio tagged are located by the chain drag technique. A cable is strung out with chains looped behind. And although the grass keeps the cable and the chains up off of the nest, the hens will flush, and each nest is checked and marked by using this small strip of cloth. The hens will move when the hatch is completed, so the very young are seldom seen by man. This chick is less than a week old. One must appreciate the need for the grasslands to help hide the chicks during brood raising. Their diet includes insects and leaves. By the second week, they have gained many new feathers. The third week shows more feathers, and they are much larger. By the sixth week, the barred pattern on the breast is becoming distinct. And by the eighth week, they are looking very mature, except for a few downy feathers still on the head. By the sixth week, the young birds can fly well for short distances. The radio tag birds are approached to see the size of the brood. Hens with chicks don't move very far, and sometimes disappointment awaits the researcher. This transmitter fell off the bird.
Number 1.
But this bird was lost to a predator. Fox love to have chicken for dinner. Fox dens are checked for the remains of prairie chicken. Just how many are lost to the fox is not known, but a new study, radio tagging the fox, will give a new insight into this area. Foxes do eat a wide variety of foods, as determined from the remains at this den. We don't think the fox has a negative effect on the prairie chicken population, for it is a natural resident of the grasslands. The droppings of the fox are also checked for indications of what they have been eating. Early fall, and all the birds can fly well, but a dog trial in this area? At first, this looks like it could be detrimental to the prairie chicken, as the prairie chicken is the object of the hunt. dogs are let loose, and the handlers follow, calling out directions to them. The gallery follows, with the new dogs still on long ropes, trailing behind. When the dog goes on point, the handler rides up, dismounts, takes his empty gun out of his sheath, loads, and moves out to flush the bird. Note how strong a flyer the prairie chicken is, as well as its distinctive pattern. Beat, glide, beat, glide. After the bird is gone, he fires up in the air. The dog's reward.
We're for wildlife unlimited. Yes, Bill and Rose and little John, who's grown to be a man, will show you through a camera's eye wonders of the land.
Then moves the dog off point, and we're off again. The trial covers a large area and flushes a good percentage of prairie chicken in that part of the marsh. The locations of the flushes are recorded, and furthermore, the bird is flushed only once, and therefore not chased to exhaustion. This, along with over 1,000 viewers who take to the blinds each year, make up the principal uses by man. Hunting was done here, and could be again. Some western states still have a prairie chicken season each fall. Winter range is basically the same as summer, but now the snows cover much of the food, and the prairie chicken flock together. They can be seen in cornfields. Barely daylight, but the prairie chicken needs grit, as these rough rocks in their gizzard grind their food. Buds from trees and old seeds blowing on the snow, as well as grains left standing, helps the prairie chicken survive the hard winter. Spring is on the way, and already the longer daylight hours stimulate the prairie chicken to return to the booming grounds, even with the snow still on. The prairie chicken was saved here in Wisconsin. thanks to people like the Hammerstroms, who studied the prairie chicken, and the private groups and individuals who purchased the land. Dr. Ray Anderson and his students from the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point are continuing this vital study.
For where do we draw the line? With what species do we say that's enough? We will not allow another to be lost. The more we know, the more we can help.
You can gain more insight from these books in your library. Prairie chicken and other animals need our help. But to help, you'll need knowledge. I urge you to get involved. Learn as much as you can about each species. I'd like to give a special thanks and acknowledge the help of Cliff and Marjorie Steinhauer.
I'm photographer Bill Porter, asking you to help me keep the wildlife unlimited.
On land and underwater, sportsman and photographer Bill Porter with son John and family invite you all to join them at a spot in the country where we hope to see some wildlife still run free. We'll go hunting, climbing, fishing, diving, see things that help to set the spirit free. We might take some of the surplus that the good Lord has provided, always mindful of the sportsman's creed. So the wildlife we all love remains unlimited. Oh, Bill and Rose and little John, who's grown to be a man, will show you through a camera's eye wonders of the land. You might camp with them by mountain streams or run barefoot in the sand. But wherever you go, recall the creed, keep the wildlife unlimited. For a sportsman's more than just a hunter or a fisherman. There's things to seed all the mind of many a mortal man. From the way the wild protect their young to canyons carved in sand. Oh, don't take them all as you recall. We're for wildlife unlimited. Yes, Bill and Rose and little John, who's grown to be a man, will show you through a camera's eye wonders of the land. You might camp with them by mountain streams or run barefoot in the sand. But wherever you go, recall the creed, keep the wildlife unlimited. Wherever you go, recall that creed, keep the wildlife unlimited.